Can we check out this art installation?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll talk Big Dig, I promise.
So this is Larissa Rogers. She's recreated Zipporah Potter Atkins' home.
Yeah.
Zipporah Potter Atkins was a black woman who owned her own piece of property 100 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, probably on an area that would later become the Rose Kennedy Greenway.
Yeah,
so when you
really
think about
beautiful.
the Big Dig, it's largely an environmental justice project before that language.
Right. Was used.
And so you start thinking about like the reclamation of land and how important land is, how many different histories land has. I think this podcast was tremendously important because it connected people to the history. Podcasts like this remind us that there can be a galvanizing force of collective action to really make the world better.
I sometimes get accused of big dig boosterism. I don't think that's what we're after. There are narratives that it was all a boondoggle and it was all a waste. And on the other hand, there are these narratives that, oh, it's an engineering marvel, they froze the ground. My one goal for the project was that anybody who listens to it, whatever their preconceptions were about the Big Dig, that they come out with those notions somewhat complicated.
I'd never heard of Central Artery Tunnel Project. That was a new phrase to me. I heard of the Big Dig. My Spanish-speaking grandmother calls it El Big Deal. Only stories of it being a disaster. That's what I remember growing up.
Well, this is the support beam. We want to get a shot of that.
Yeah. This thing was brutal.
The only piece of the elevated highway that was left undisturbed. It does make me wish they had left more to show the scale.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, if there was like one complete like framing of the whole thing.
I totally agree.
You say in the narration, this highway was envisioned by someone who was anti-highway to begin.
I mean, one of the first moments it really dawned on me what we were attempting to do was when we first met Fred Salvucci. You know, sometimes when you're doing interviews, there's this idea of a good talker. They're effusive, they're emotive, they're loud, and Fred was not immediately that. He was quiet and he was deliberate. But I remember in that first interview, I think what dawned on me, that it was not just about roads and concrete and like wonky policy stuff, that this was something that people, and no one more than Fred, had just poured their lives into.
When you're able to hold this cultural knowledge through passing it on person to person, like that is preservation in action.
I remember at some point when we were working on the podcast, I kind of got interested in how we memorialize the Big Dig, because there aren't that many visual signs of it. Yeah. Right here on this timeline, there is one little square. I think that's about the Central Artery Project. Oh yeah, here we go.
13 years of Big Dig construction culminate with the dismantling of the elevated Central Artery. Traffic is moved underground to the Thomas P. O'Neill Jr. Tunnel, and nearly 30 acres of land are cleared for development and for the Rose Kennedy Greenway.
When the Big Dig was under construction, the Globe had made this editorial statement basically saying that there should be a Big Dig monument or a museum, that this project is so epic, you know, it's such a historic investment in the city that it deserves to be remembered. And this is basically...
This is what they got. Yeah, there you go.
As far as I can tell. And in some ways, the whole Greenway is a living monument.
I think for folks who live in Boston, we can forget what an institutional treasure GBH is. You hear the voices, you hear that grain of 1980s news footage, you hear the
Boston accents, the true Boston accent. Obviously, a lot of the folks who we interviewed are elders, and also there are folks who've passed on, and through that archival material, we were able to bring those stories in. It's been really impactful for me as a person who grew up here, but also to share it with the world and have interest has been a huge gift.
Yeah. I think the Big Dig, the project, it delivered on everything it promised.
Yeah.
I don't think it's perfect. I think you can question big pieces of it, but did it restore the fabric of downtown Boston? Yes. Did it improve transportation in Boston? Yes. So I think on the basic metrics, it's hard to deny that it succeeded.
The risks we take come down to betting on ourselves, on people versus things, on people versus automobiles, on people versus the reckless destruction of our homes, our environment, the very quality of our lives, all in the false name of progress. The only real progress is the progress of people. I've counted on your help before, and it's been there. I call upon you once again, and I'm sure that you will answer that call.